Welcome back to episode 85 of the Crynet GenShow. I'm your host, and as we wrap up the month of May 2026, well, the digital asset market is really proving its resilience.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Bitcoin is holding strong at this rock-solid $77,000 support level after, a pretty highly anticipated consolidation phase.
Right, exactly. But while the price action takes a breath, the real action is happening in global infrastructure. I mean, legacy remittance giant Western Union just finalized its roadmap to launch its native stablecoin directly on the Solana network.
Which is huge. They're aiming to completely rewrite the rules of global cross-border payments.
You really are. So today on this deep dive, we are breaking down the regulatory chess match in Washington over national trust charters, the European Commission's massive public push to update the MiCA framework, and a highly coordinated OFAC operation that, well, successfully dismantled a major cartel money laundering pipeline.
Plus, we're looking at record-breaking on-chain activity on Solana, right alongside the global celebrations of the 16th annual Bitcoin Pizza Day.
Yeah, it's an industry that is simultaneously taming its wild edges and cementing its place in traditional finance. The rails are being laid, the rules are being updated, and the network never sleeps. So let's dive into the top 10.
Let's do it. If you are just looking at your portfolio app right now, you might actually think the market is asleep, right? Bitcoin is essentially flatlining while Wall Street holds its breath for macro data.
Yeah, like the April PCE and Q1 GDP updates.
Mm-hmm.
But that sleepy price chart is completely deceptive.
Oh, totally.
I mean, think of this market like a swan on a lake.
I like that.
Right, like it looks completely calm on the surface, which is the price, but underneath the feet are just paddling furiously. The network utility is exploding.
The utility is absolutely exploding. I mean, just look at Solana. The price of the SOL token has cooled off this month, but the actual daily active addresses and transaction volumes are hitting historic all-time highs.
Right.
People, and more importantly, institutions, are actively using these networks to build.
Which brings us back to that legacy integration. Western Union launching the USDPT stablecoin on the Solana mainnet. They aren't doing this for crypto speculation.
No, not at all.
They want ultra-fast, cheap global rails to move fiat money across borders instantly.
And that core shift is happening globally. We saw this at the Southeast Asia Blockchain Week in Bangkok, too. Massive venture capital is flowing into Web3 gaming and regional Layer 2 DeFi networks. Capital is just figuring out how to become highly efficient on-chain.
But wait, let me push back here for a second. If massive legacy giants like Western Union are already actively building on public chains, hasn't the SEC basically lost this fight? I mean, aren't regulators just fighting an unstoppable structural momentum?
Well, it looks that way, but it's less about regulators fighting the momentum and more about figuring out how to, safely domesticate it. When a system handles billions of dollars, you can't just let it run wild. That's why the SEC just delayed plans to allow tokenized stock trading. They need to evaluate the actual mechanics like clearing mechanisms and manipulation safeguards before Wall Street plugs in fully.
That makes total sense. And it's the exact same reason we are seeing this massive turf war over OCC national trust charters. The OCC wants to give crypto firms the same federal charters as traditional banks.
But the friction there is intense. Senator Elizabeth Warren is warning that granting these federal charters allows crypto firms to bypass traditional banking laws.
Yeah, well, OCC controller Jonathan Gould defends it as operational normalcy, basically arguing that if crypto acts like a bank, it needs to be regulated under federal bank rules. And, we aren't taking a side there, but it shows how intense this chess match is.
Yeah, it really is a chess match. And to achieve that institutional level, you have to flesh out the bad actors. The U.S. Treasury's OFAC just dismantled a massive fentanyl-to-crypto money laundering pipeline used by the Sinaloa cartel.
Wow.
Yeah. By cutting that off, regulators are forcing the industry to mature.
And the exchanges are being forced to adapt, too. Binance just tightened its compliance globally after flagging an $850 million Iran-linked network.
Exactly. And European regulators are doing the exact same thing right now, seeking massive public feedback to update their MiCA framework so they can finally get a handle on DeFi.
So that brings us to the wrap-up for episode 85. This week makes one thing incredibly clear. Compliance and institutional adoption are moving hand in hand.
100%.
When the SEC delays tokenized stock trading, but legacy giants like Western Union aggressively build on public chains, it tells you that the structural momentum is entirely unstoppable.
Definitely. And as we look ahead to June and the macro data dropping from Wall Street, Keeping an eye on on-chain metrics is going to be your biggest edge. Solana's record active addresses prove that utility is driving this market, even when prices move sideways.
Exactly. You can find the full breakdown of the MiCA feedback papers and the Western Union Solana integration timeline in our show notes. It really puts that 16-year journey since Bitcoin Pizza Day into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. Going from spending 10,000 Bitcoin on 2 pizzas to multi-hundred-million-dollar valuations today.
So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. If we went from buying 2 pizzas to global remittance rails in just 16 years, what will everyday commerce look like in another 16 years when traditional finance runs entirely on blockchain rails without you, the consumer, even knowing it?
That is the billion-dollar question.
To everyone listening, whether you're managing complex automation workflows or hitting new PRs in the gym, as we head into summer, stay disciplined, stay consistent, and keep your form sharp. Keep your private key safe, your posture straight, and I'll see you in episode 86.